Representation theory is how media show society, but they must be careful due to representing them wrongly and creating an unhappy audience. There must be a shared recognition to ensure the audience have the same opinions. To open up your essay, describe what representation is, followed by the production you'll be analysing. Remember the genre and the target audience. There are multiple theories that relate to representation, and these are the following. Laura Mulvey's male gaze theory. This is about how men see women in films. Usually the women are shown as stereotypes with their thin waists, and usually with blonde hair and blue eyes. It also looks at how women look at themselves, or how they view other women. Usually, if it's how they look at other women, the other woman can be seen as skinnier or differently shaped. If you didn't include any of this, you can talk about how you challenged her theory. A quote that relates to Laura Mulvey's theory is by Jonathan Schroeder from 1998, which says, "The gaze implies more than to look at, it dignifies a psychological relationship of power in which the gazer is superior to the object of the gaze."
Another theory is David Gauntlet's Web 2.0 theory. He said, people don't get represented by the media any more than when they use Web 2.0 platforms to make their own media. This also links to the audience theory. Not all theories relate to the production you are writing about, so you can also write about how you challenged these ideas. Remember to keep all the examples specific and attempt to always relate back to representation. Writing down all the terminology can help make sure you can use them as much as possible. Attempt using 3 or more theories and relate any quotes to them. There are other theories used by representation, and they are the hegemonic reading. We are brought up to believe ideas or opinions due to society. For example, school is the only place to get education. Gauntlet in 2002 and 2007, where he says identities are not given, but are consumed and negotiated, and identity is complicated. Everybody thinks they have got one. Artists also play with the idea of identity. There are also many other theories which are included in the booklet Miss Twidell provided.
The term audience is used to refer to the people that consume a media text. Some theorists believe that an audience is passive and simply consumes a text and the ideals presented within it. Others believe that audiences are active and take a media text, adapting it to their own needs and reproducing sections. These people are known as prosumers.
According to the uses and gratifications theory, there are 4 main audience pleasures. The first of these is diversion, where the audience will consume a media text simply to forget about the real world. The next is personal identity, where a person will relate themselves to the characters on the screen and the situations they are in. Personal relationships are when a person will socialise with their peers about a text they have consumed and create new relationships on that basis. Finally, surveillance is when an audience will look at media text to keep themselves informed on current affairs, such as watching the news.
The next audience theory is desensitisation. This is where someone becomes immune to on-screen features such as violence or sexual activities, usually from watching it too much. An example of this is if someone has been watching horror films a lot, they'll no longer be fazed by on-screen portrayal of violence or blood. Linking to this theory is copycat theory, in which a person will reenact the behaviours of characters on screen in their everyday life. An example of this is the Jamie Bulger case, where 2 young boys killed a toddler by reenacting scenes from Child's Play 3.
The hypodermic model is the idea that media acts as a syringe, forcing ideas onto the audience. This links to the idea that the audience is passive and will take on any ideas that the media shows to them. The hypodermic model often works through showing stereotypes on screen and using this to mould the public's opinion on a certain group of people. For example, from watching Geordie Shore, the audience are led to believe that everyone from Newcastle spends every night drinking, when this is clearly not the case. Also linked to the hypodermic model is cultivation theory. This is where the media plants a seed in the mind of the audience and slowly moulds their opinions through repetition. The media establishes specific views of the world through cultivation theory, even though they may not be true.
Stuart Hall's theory says that there are 3 readings that an audience will take with a media text. The first is the preferred or dominant reading taken by the target audience. This is where they'll fully agree and empathise with the characters and storylines presented. Then there's the negotiated reading, where the audience will have some issues with some aspects of the text, but overall not have too much of a problem with it. Finally is the oppositional reading, where the audience will completely disagree with everything presented within the text. Stuart Hall's readings are used to understand how an audience will react to a text and can also link to representation theory.
Verisimilitude is the idea that if a media text reflects real life, the audience are more likely to empathise with the characters and storylines, no matter how ridiculous they are. This is because the audience will understand real life and react more to any disruption of everyday equilibrium. For example, if the equilibrium in a horror film clearly portrays real life, the audience are more likely to be frightened when the antagonist causes a disruption.
A media text can be aimed at one of two audiences, mass or niche. A text designed for a mass audience is universal and available for anyone and everyone to watch. An example of a media text created for a mass audience is The X Factor. A niche audience, however, is very specific to a certain topic. For example, a niche audience can be a certain gender, age, sexuality, or even people with a specific hobby or religion. An example of a text aimed at a niche audience is Songs of Praise.
The final theory linked to audience is Barthes code theory. This is the theory that the audience gain understanding of a text through codes. The first type of this code is action code, in which the audience is shown something happening in order for them to understand the meaning. For example, if they are shown someone being shot, they will understand that the person was killed. Enigma coding is where the audience are given clues as to what will happen and left to work it out for themselves. For example, if someone is shown hiding a gun, it can be suggested that they are going to kill someone or are planning to at a later date.